I don't know what that means, but it sounds good.
You don't gotta know what it means, just feel it. Hello.
I'm feeling it, John. I'm feeling it. Hey everyone, it's your girl, Emily Curl with iHeartRadio, and today we're joined by Grammy and Emmy-nominated artist, activist, band leader at The Late Show, and musician extraordinaire. Let's welcome in Jon Batiste. Hi, Jon.
Hello, what's happening?
I love this setup.
Yes, it's a good vibe. I got my piano, I got my instrument corner over there. We got the double bass over here, the guitar, the bunch of organs and stuff like that. B3 organ, Nord organ, and I got some banjos over there, and I even have an accordion right there. So I have everything I need, and then
All
I got
your friends are around.
the French countryside back here. I play like 12 instruments, so I just gotta have them at my disposal. If an idea comes, I can just go, boom.
I love that energy. Honestly, that's great. And you've had a lot of good ideas recently because you are coming out. I got to kick this off starting by talking about you're coming out with a new album and visual album this year called We Are, and a new single, I Need You, out today. First off, congratulations. Tell us a little bit more about this project.
Well, I wanted to make some music that really encapsulated all of the amazing experiences I've had over the last 6 years or so, and even when I moved to New York at 17, even before that, I've been exposed to so much touring the world as a musician, being on TV for 6 years, writing for films, writing musicals, and just being involved in all of the different things that are happening socio-culturally in terms of our country and kind of bringing that across the world when we had time to tour and travel. And this album encapsulates all of that. It was really made in my dressing room at The Late Show. The blueprint of it, at least, was made in a 6-day span. And I set up a studio in my dressing room at The Late Show. And in between filming the show, I would go up to the dressing room, and I had my collaborators with me in the dressing room. We'd be writing songs, and I'd be composing music. And then I would leave the studio, and I would go into another recording studio, and I would record the score for Soul, which I was doing at the same time as I was making the album. And then in the downtime in the studio, I recorded another project called Meditations that's been nominated for the Grammy, as you mentioned. And that was also happening at the same time as I was recording this album. So that's just giving you a picture. I like to create with a lot of stimulus, and I'm a very associative thinker in terms of my creative process. I like to have so much stimulus happening, and I like all of them to kind of bleed into each other. So this album really kind of not only encapsulates my journey as an artist up until this point, but that time in my life. And it really kind of the tail end of it was the pandemic and the social unrest after George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, all these things happening at the same time. That's when I finished the project, and I was doing so much activism with my Love Right concept in the middle of the street. I was going out into the street and protesting and having rallies. Then I would come back into the studio and be by myself and finishing the record. Then I would go back after quarantining for 2 weeks, go back and do another rally, go back in and finish the record. So this record feels like it has so much of my experience and the world's experience at the same time, just built into it.
You said in a recent interview too that really stuck out to me, that making something is the closest act of divinity that a human being can experience. That stuck out to me. For you, what's your earliest memory of creating something that gave you that feeling?
I've been creating music mainly since I was about 11. Of course, before that I was exposed to music and playing music, but I didn't consider myself a musician until I was about 11 or 12, and a professional musician until I was about 17. But early on, I was into painting and art. I remember when I was a kid, this is way back in like elementary school, first, second grade or something like that. They came to my class and they were like, and they told me that they wanted me to do this program, which was basically an art program for kids who are maybe precocious or advanced, have an aptitude for arts. And it was like me and like 3 other kids in the school. And, you know, we had this one class. It felt really cool to just kind of create in that space, because they basically told us that's what the class is about. Just come in here and paint and draw. And that was for about 2 years. And this is before I even played the piano.
Speaking of creating stuff that is divine, we have to talk about Soul. I watched it recently, and I'm not the only one who fell in love with that movie. What a cool experience. What was that like for you, you know, contributing, you know, to a Pixar movie for your love of music that is actually about music, you know, because a Pixar movie is amazing, but to do one that's actually about music, what was that like for you?
Wow. The thing about Soul is that I felt the responsibility of doing the sacred lineage of jazz music and Black music justice in the film. And the performances to me are very, very iconic, and in that it's a children's movie where there are these jazz performances that are animated and they're accurate. And it's like modern jazz. It's not a historic retelling. It's not something that's rooted in the past, but it's bringing all of these forces of our culture to bear in a children's film, and it's modern music. You know, he's Trenton Atticus, and I composed the score, and there's that bleeding into the music, and vice versa. The jazz has that, and the celestial music that they kind of made for the spirit realm has this kind of jazz flavor at times. And in a moment in the film, at the end, they come together. I just find it to be a really innovative thing that they called me in to do, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. It was amazing to see it come to life. It was really a journey, you know, over 2 years of working on it with them.
Oh, wow.
You know, it was really an incredible creative journey. And I think you don't have a lot of opportunity to show jazz or have Black representation, in particular in animation like this the first time. And you know, a lot of people may say, well, they didn't do this or they didn't do that, but that's not on us. The scarcity of Black representation is the bigger issue, because one film cannot bear the weight of every single aspect of Black culture in life.
Yeah.
So I think we really, for jazz and for the music, you know, of our people and American culture and what the film represents, is pretty deep, man.
It truly is. And like seeing it through Joe's eyes, there was something so magical about it. You know, I read that your hands actually were the animation of Joe's hands playing piano. Is that true?
Yeah. It was
That's
one of
amazing.
those things they wanted to capture the real authenticity of it, and I was very insistent that the performances had to look real. I don't like when I see a film and they're playing the wrong note at the wrong time, or they holding the instrument wrong, and it doesn't really feel like what I know it to be. And we just came up with the solution. Well, let it be you. And I don't know how they translated it technologically into animation, but I know they filmed me every time I played, and when I was in the studio, there were GoPros all around and cameras above me, and it was like a real capturing of my essence into the character.
What was it like the first time you watched Soul back? You know, the final movie, the movie's done. What was that experience like for you?
Wow. I have to say it was very emotional. I cried. You know, it's very emotional to see something that you worked on so hard come to life.
Yeah.
But even seeing it for what it represented, apart from me and my involvement, it made me emotional, because I was not someone who had films like that when I was a kid that represented jazz, and you see that kind of cultural manifestation of the music in such a major platform like that, and done so meticulously that you can feel like you're there when you're watching these performances. so I found it to be very, very moving beyond just my involvement in it.
What musician is really inspiring to you right now in this moment?
I've been listening to Beethoven's later work because his harmonic concept later in his life and the way that he uses repetition is so intense. It's so deep. It reminds me of the intensity that you might hear in the lyrical delivery of somebody like Eminem, where it's just insistent. The beep and the beat, get the beep. I'm above, I'm above, Beethoven, you know, it's like.
That's interesting. I've never heard that comparison before. That's cool.
But it's he's using the same rhythmic theme the whole time. He wrote a whole symphony. I mean, that's a major flex to take one rhythm and write a whole symphony on it like that. I'm interested in how you can take a little and make a lot.
And going back, so I want to talk again really quickly, going back to the Late Show. I love the relationship that you and Steven have. What's the best thing that you've learned from him working alongside him?
Wow, I think he's like a great example of somebody who has an incredible gift, obviously, but has figured out a way to use his gift and be original within a format that is pretty much an institution. It's been there. There's been, from Ed Sullivan to Johnny Carson and, Jack Parr and just a range of late night hosts, David Letterman. There's so much that you could fall into that is derivative and that just feels like, oh, you just jocking this guy's style. You copy you didn't figure out your own approach to this. And I've always been about that in everything that I do. And to see him do it in that way for that platform is really cool, because I was wondering how that would occur on such a corporate and major platform. I was wondering how he was gonna figure that out. And just seeing him do that, it really is encouraging to me. I learned a lot just being next to him through that process.
Yeah.
And now, we 1,000+ shows in, so it seems like, people forget that the show had to find its voice, and he had to find who he was, and he's amazing. It's just like you've never seen anything like this. He's one of a kind in the lineage of late night hosts in all time. There's never been anybody like him in that position.
Steven obviously has had an impact on your life. Who is someone who has also had a big impact on your life, but who you've never met before?
Beyonce has such an impact on me, but I've gotten the chance to meet her.
What was that meeting like?
Oh, it was very embarrassing. The first, not the few times after the first time, but the first time we met, I'd been practicing. I have a piano studio. I was practicing, and I get into the zone where I'm just like, I had my hoodie on and I'm playing, and I was just in there for 6-7 hours. And I hadn't bathed. I hadn't thought of anything on the outside world. And then I got to this point where I was just drenched in sweat with the hoodie on, and I'm starving, and I'm like, I gotta go get some food. So I go out, and I'm walking up the street, and then I see, I think it was a flyer or something for a James Blake concert. So I say, it was at a venue that I know. I won't say the name of the venues, but I was like, I'm gonna go check it out. So I go backstage. They're like, hey, Batiste. I go into backstage. I'm going to sit down, checking out James. I'm like, let me see what the vibes are. I love his work. So I'm checking him out as he's leaving the stage. I'm like, hey, James, what's happening with you? Then behind him, I didn't see, is Beyonce and Jay, and they come out, and I had met her briefly before that, actually, at it was like at a social function for a mutual friend of ours. So she comes to me, being that we had met at that time, and she comes to me and she's like, hey, and she gives me a hug. And when she gives me the hug, I was like, oh no, because I started to, I gave her the hug, and I could feel the heat just coming through the hoodie. Like I could feel just, the kind of complete musk, just it raw. And I was like, oh no, I hope this is not, I hope she don't feel this the way I feel it, right? So then I gave her the hug, and obviously.
How did it go? Did she say anything?
No, she didn't say anything, but she just, the contrast of how they just looked like $1 billion. It was like meeting royalty, and I'm wearing a hoodie, and I've been in the piano room sweating, and I'm just completely out of sorts.
A heated hug. We've all been there before. And for my last question before I let you go, what is the single greatest thing you're looking forward to in 2021?
I think we just got to come together more and be more present. We have to listen more. I think this is an opportunity for us to listen. We have this opportunity to learn how to listen better. If we have this opportunity to dig our heels more into what we know and not really evolve. So I think that these sort of things, the silver lining that is potentially our reality, is the growth of our awareness of other people outside of our bubble. And ultimately, 2021 is that year. We can say we're gonna embrace the challenge of that, and it seems impossible in times, like after what we saw happen just recently in the Capitol. But I think this is who we are. This is America. So let's look at ourselves in the mirror, and we can grow, or we can not grow. And I'm looking forward to the growth.
All right, Jon, thank you so much. We'll see you soon. But don't.
Oh yeah. What about what if we had so we're done a lot of living. We're working overtime. Don't need another million. You got that gold mine. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
This is the best.
Thanks so much for watching our interview with Jon Batiste. Make sure to stream his new single, I Need You, out now on iHeartRadio. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Did you like that video? You can check out more over here. And don't forget to subscribe to iHeart right here. And if you're already a longtime fan, make sure you ring the bell down below so you don't miss a single video. Bye guys.